Hello everyone, my name is Sydney Brendle, and I wanted to discuss diversity in the workplace, racial discrimination, and diversity hiring for my project today. Racial discrimination within the workplace is prohibited by federal and state law, but sometimes it can go undetected, and sometimes employers may be discriminating and not really realize it. It can also be subtle or obvious. Title VII has made it to where racial discrimination is prohibited on any level in the workplace, whether that be paying them less, refusing to hire, or making decisions based on race. One of the main things I was interested in for this project was just in general diversity hiring within the workplace. There are many companies and businesses who have to hit a certain percentage or number of minorities within their employers. I believe that diversity is a good thing, but I also thought about how sometimes this can be seen as reverse discrimination, which we learned in class, which is simply discrimination against the majority instead of the minority. Diversity is important to U.S. companies because it promotes performance and competitiveness. For example, a company that has a diverse group of employers will relate to a diverse group of consumers. And what company doesn't want that advantage? Companies generally define diversity throughout their workplace as having employees of different races, and genders all working together for the better of their company. There are many pros to having a diverse work group, but with that also comes definite cons such as discrimination complaints, lawsuits based around discrimination, and insensitivity because there's not enough diversity training. Although diversity can be very fulfilling for the company, without the right training, it could turn ugly really quick. Here's some pretty popular cases that I wanted to discuss. These have been throughout the news, and I'm sure you've heard of these companies. Racial discrimination shouldn't be an issue at all, but it still is, unfortunately. So, General Electric was in trouble in 2010 when 60 African American workers filed a suit against them for racial discrimination. They claimed their supervisor referred to them as racial slurs and that they were denied proper medical treatment, bathroom breaks, and they also claimed that the higher-ups of the company knew about this unfair treatment and delayed investigation into the matter. Another huge one is Walmart stores. This happened between 2001 and 2008 when around 4,000 to 5,000 African American truck drivers were turned away when applying for jobs within the company. Walmart denied these claims but agreed to settle for $17.5 million. The store has been in several other lawsuits since the 90s. And I'm sure the big one you guys have all heard about is Abercrombie and Fitch, which is pretty recent. In 2003, they made headlines for being sued for discrimination against African Americans, Asian Americans, and Latinos. Latinos and Asians accused the company of not letting them work the floor, but instead insisted on backroom jobs, which evidently paid less. They wanted to represent a look that was quote-unquote classically American. Abercrombie and Fitch settled that lawsuit for $50 million. These are just a few of the bigger companies I wanted to show, but many of lawsuits get swept under the rug every day based on racial discrimination, especially in smaller companies. Racial discrimination is a very broad topic, but I chose to focus on diversity hiring within the workplace. United Steelworkers versus Weber is a good case showing how diversity training could cause some legal issues and give off a feeling of reverse discrimination. Brian Weber was a white employee, and his company had a plan of on-the-job training with a mandated quota, one for minority workers admitted into the program. Weber didn't get into the program, so he pretty much challenged the company and said they were violating Title VII. The company argued that it was pursuing affirmative action to remedy historical disadvantages among African Americans. In Supreme Court, it was held that affirmative action plan was lawful by 5-2, so they found that the plan attempted to help minority workers and did not prevent other employees from advancing. Griggs versus Duke Power is another case involved around discrimination and adverse impact. In the 50s, Duke Power had a policy that African Americans were only allowed in labor departments, which were the lowest paying. After the Civil Rights Movement, the company removed any restrictions, but they kept the high school diploma requirements and added in an IQ test. The white workers who had been working but didn't meet either requirements performed their jobs the same as the ones who did meet these requirements. The facts of this case show that general testing is usually inadequate. The court found that tests used in hiring practices impact the ethnic minorities, and they should be amended to relate to the job. In theory, testing is a pretty good idea to gauge who has what it takes based on objective criteria, but in the actual practice of testing, it falls short of perfecting the selection process. Because of this, laws have been created on the federal and state level to prevent discrimination. The most important is Section 703A, which is a provision in Title VII. Although this testing was supposed to promote diversity, and I say that sarcastically, the company more or less rigged the test, making it to where it was harder for African Americans to pass. United Steelworkers of America versus Weber was the first case that dealt with affirmative action that reached a Supreme Court. In this case, I don't agree with the way they went about diversity hiring. It's one thing to create a diverse work group and have a good mix of races and cultures within your workplace, but discriminating against the majority group doesn't work because that's just discrimination. It's just as bad as discriminating against a minority. Diversity in the workplace is awesome for any business. It helps your employees come together to work together and with all different types of people that might have different ideals and morals than them. They will have a variety of clientele because you have a variety of work staff. Minority hiring is where I have a problem making up my mind. I'm standing kind of in the middle where I think, yes, minority hiring is an awesome idea, and it's great that companies are striving to create a diverse work group. But then on the other hand, I think this can cause a lot of friction within the business and outside applicants because it can create a feeling of reverse discrimination against the majority, and that's just as fair as a minority discrimination. There are many pros and there are many cons, and I don't think I can really come to a conclusion myself at this moment, but kind of just stand in the middle. I know that if I owned my own company and minority hiring and diversity training came up, I would have to study for a really good long time before I even took this into consideration because it is such a touchy subject. What do you guys think you would do if you had your own company? In conclusion, during the civil rights movement in the 60s, the federal government passed a series of measures to end racial discrimination within the workplace. The laws didn't really define what constituted illegal discrimination and gave only weak enforcement power to federal agencies. Throughout the years, businesses and corporations have defined how they will comply with Title VII in the law. HR managers have created programs and promotion procedures that promote women and minorities in the workplace, and this is called diversity hiring. Personally, I believe that diversity in the workplace is good for everyone, and racial discrimination shouldn't be happening at all at this point in time. But the reason why I chose to research about diversity hiring is because some cases lead you to think that diversity hiring is also discrimination, just reversed on the majority. I don't think this is neither bad nor good. I just wanted to research a little bit more and give some brief examples to you guys in this action and see what you guys think. And that is all. And here's my sources. Thank you very much.